In this video, we're going to learn how to do multiplications mentally without using pen and paper, and I'm not going to teach you any tricks. What I'm going to teach you is how I do mental math or mental multiplication. And the way I do is I just structure the problem and then simplify it. Okay, don't use any tricks. You may think what I'm doing is tricks, but I'll just explain you that this is not really a trick. This is just I'm looking at the problem in a different way, and if you look at the problem in a different way, it becomes easier to handle, and then you can do it mentally. Okay, so basically I'm going to explain you 5 ways, essentially 4 ways, and then the 5th is a miscellaneous simplification that we'll do in case of multiplications. The first way is you look at a multiple of 10 and then you take out the extra. What I mean is, so let's look at this. So 7 into 12, what you look at is, the way you look at it is this. So you make it 10 or multiple of 10 plus something extra. So that becomes 7 into 10 is 70, 7 into 2 is 14. So this is what it becomes. Now you can do it mentally. Similarly, here you look at it as 10 plus 2, so that becomes 140 plus 28, which is 168. So similarly, 230 plus 23 into 4 is, now 23 into 4, you can directly do it, or you can do it as 23 into 2 is 46, 46 into 2 is 92. Now how do you add them up? The way you add them up is you think it in terms of 230 plus 100 minus 8. So this becomes 330 minus 8, which is 332. So here 17 into 10, which is 170, plus 17 into 6 is 102. So it is simply 272. So 170 plus 100 is 270, plus 2 is 272. Okay, so what we are doing is we are looking at a multiple of 10. It could be, in all these cases there was just 10. It could be 22 also, 24 also. So you take out multiple of 10, and then whatever you remains, you multiply that separately. Another way is, if the number is close to, if the number is on the higher end, let's say closer to a multiple of 10 but slightly less than that, then what you can do is you can think this in terms of 20 minus 1. So it becomes 140 minus 7, so 133. So this becomes 14 into 20 minus 2, which is 280 minus 28. Now how do I do this? 280 minus 30 plus 2. Right? So this becomes 252. 23 into 17 becomes 23, 20 minus 3, which is 23 into 20 is 460 minus 69. So what I do here is 460 minus 60 minus 9. So 460 minus 60 is 400, minus 9 is 391. 17 into 30 minus 2, which is 510 minus 34, which is 500 minus 24, which is 476. Okay, so here I am looking at multiples of 10 minus some whatever was the deficit, right? Minus 3, minus 2 and all that. Another way is you can look at it in terms of multiples of 5 plus extra, or multiples of 5 minus deficit. So for example, I can look at this as 14 into 15 plus 1. So 14 into 15 plus 14. So 14 into 15 is, I've done a video on how to multiply with multiples of 5. So you can look at it as 10 plus 5 plus 14 remains extra. So that becomes 140 plus 70 plus 14. So that becomes 224. Now this looks complex. This may look complex when I'm doing it, sort of a lot of steps, but once you become used to it, then it's not going to be as complex. And another thing is, of course, you can do it the way we just did it, in terms of multiples of 10 plus extra, okay, or multiples of 10 minus deficit. You can always do it that way, but this is another way. If some number you can do it more comfortably this way, you can also do this way. So for example, 18 into 17 will become 18 into 15 plus 2, and this is becoming a little messier. So 18 into 15 is 270 plus 36, so 306. So 23 again, 23 into 15 plus 3. Now you can see this is becoming a little complex. 23 into 15 is a little complex. So 230 plus 23 into 5 is 115. Again, this is a little complex. You may want to solve it in a different way, in terms of it makes sense to do this as 23 into 20 minus 2. That's easier. But this is just another way. Okay. So you can see this is a little complex here. So this is 345 plus 69, which is 414. Now how I arrived at 414 is, so I looked at this is 345 plus 55 would be 400. So I took out 55 from here. So if you take out 55 from here, you will be left with 14, right? Essentially you can write 69 as 55 plus 14. So 345 plus 55 would be 400, then 14. Okay, that's how you can do it. So 28 into 16, again 15 plus 1. So 280 plus 140 plus 28. So this is 420 plus 28. So 448. Okay, so depending upon your comfort with multiplying with 15, these numbers this way may look like quite complex to you, but this is just another way. And similarly you can also do multiples of 5 minus deficit. So this becomes 16 into 15 minus 1. So 16 into 15, the way I do it actually in my mind is, this is just 16 into 1.5 into 10. 16 into 1.5 is basically, this is 1.5 guna, right? 1.5, which is 16 plus 8, so 24. So in my mind this is quite fast. This is just 240 minus 16, which is 224. Similarly this is 18, 15 minus 2, so this is 270 minus 36. So how I'm going to do this is 270 minus 40 plus 4, which is 234. So again 23, 15 minus 3. Okay, of course you can do these the other way also, right? So you can write this as 23 into 10 plus 2, which is an easier way, I think, in this case. But I'm just telling you this is another way to do this. So 23 into 15 is a little complex. So this will be 230 plus 115 minus 69. So this is 345 minus 69, which is 300 minus 24, which is 276. So basically I wrote the 69 as 45 plus 24. So 345 minus 45 minus 24 becomes 345 minus 45 is 300 minus 24, which is this. So now 26 into 24, there is another video on how to multiply with 25. You can use that, but let me explain that here. So 26 into 25 minus 1. So 26 into 25 minus 26. 26 into 25 is, you can write this as 13 into 2 into 25 minus 26. So 2 into 25 becomes 50. So 13 into 50, which is 13 into 5, 650 minus 26, which is 624. Okay, so this is how these are the different ways you can structure. Of course, there are other simplifications that you can use. Okay, and I'm going to tell you. The basic idea is simplification. So we structure or we look at the problem in a different way so that it becomes easier to handle. That is the basic intent. So when we look at 19 into 15, if you look at 19 into 10 plus 19 into 5, this is a little complex. But if you flip it, this becomes this. So now this is easier to handle. This is 300 minus 15, which is 285. So now when dealing with multiples, or when one number is around 25, I've covered it in another video. Whenever we are multiplying with 25, we can look at 25 as 100 by 4. Okay, so I look at it as 28 into 25 plus 1. Now 25 is just 100 by 4, which means I'm going to just divide 28 by 4 and multiply it with 100. So 28 by 4 is 7, so it becomes 700 plus 28. So again 24 into 24 is 24, 25 minus 1. So again 25 means 100 by 4, so I'm going to divide 24 by 4, which is 6. So 600 minus 24, which is 576. 30 into 28, so again I can look at as 25 plus 3. So now this is not really divisible by 4. So this is not going to be as easy as the earlier ones. But so one way is I remain stuck there, that okay, I need to divide it by 4, it's a little complex and all. So I can just directly multiply. 25 into 30 is quite simple. 25 into 3, which is 75, right? 750 plus 90, which is 840, right? Or another way is that you can flip it and see it as 28 into 30, which is just 28 into 3, which is 84, right? And there is a 0 extra. Now 22 into 26. So again, one way is 22 into 25 plus 1. Now 22 into 25, so it's not divisible by 4. So what you can do is you can think in terms of 11 into 2 into 25 plus 22. So now 2 into 25 becomes 50. So it becomes 550 plus 22, which is 572. Now 14 into 29, you can think in terms of 25 plus 4, and since it's not divisible by 4, so it's going to be a little bit of calculation. So this is going to be 350, so you make it 7 into 50 plus 56, so it is 406. Or you could do it another way. You can simply look at it as 30 minus 1, which is 420 minus 14, which is 406. Right, so there are always, or a lot of times, there are multiple ways to structure a problem. And this is the benefit of knowing multiple ways, that you can see which way is more comfortable for a certain problem. So if you have different ways of looking at problems, then you can pick the one that is most effective, most efficient in a particular problem. If you just know one way, then of course it will work quite well in some problems. It will not work so well in other problems. So 18 into 27, again you can look at it as 25 plus 2, which is 18 into 25 is 9 into 2 into 50, which is 450 plus 36, so 486. Or you can also look at it as 18 into 30 minus 3, which is 540 minus 54, so which is 540 minus 40 minus 14, which is 500 minus 14 is 486. Now we look at some numbers which are closer to 50, right? So if you look at it directly, it looks very daunting, 18 into 40, and how do I know? But if you just structure it, it becomes this. Now 18 into 50 is just 18 into 100 by 2, which is 900, right? So you divide that by 2 and multiply it with 100. So 900 minus 36, which is 900 minus 40, which is 864. Similarly here, so 28, 50 minus 1, so which is 1400, right? 28 by 2 is 1400 minus 28, which is 1372. Okay, so similarly, when you're dealing with multiples or exact multiple 75 or multiples or around 75, then you can think of 75 as 3 by 4th of 100, or you can see it as 300 by 4. So now if you look at it that way, so it becomes 36 into 300 by 4, which is just 9. So 9 into 3 is 2700. So when you're looking at this, now this is quite daunting, right? For it's 76, not 75. So first we make it 75, which is easier to handle. 45 into 75 plus 45 extra, right? Because 45 into 76. Now this is still not easy because 75 is 300 by 4, but this is not a multiple of 4. So what we do is, again we write 45 as 44 plus 1 plus into 75. So there is a 45 extra. So now this is 44 into 75, which is 44 into 75 is just 300 by 4 plus 75 plus 45. So this becomes 3300 plus 75 plus 45 is 120. So 3420. So there are some steps involved, as you can see. Right, so yeah, because we needed to structure both the numbers. If it were just 44 into 76, then we would have done it easier, because then it would be just 44 into 75 plus 44. Right, this is now easier because this is just 3300 plus 44. Since we needed to structure both the numbers, it became a little complex. But yeah, so the basic idea is to simplify. Okay, the multiplication, look at the numbers in a way that it becomes easier to handle. And generally, you should not be structuring both the numbers, because then it becomes quite complex. Structure just one of the numbers, then it remains easier to handle. But there would be times when you would need to structure both the problem, then it's going to be complex. So in the beginning you may not be able to handle all of that in your mind, but that's fine. So the more you structure, the better you become at structuring, and you'll also be able to see which problem to structure which way. As we have learned, there are multiple ways to structure, right, any problem. So over a period of time, you'll build this ability that just by looking at the problem, you'll be able to see that, okay, perhaps this is the easiest way to structure this problem. And as you practice, your ability to structure and do all of these things in your mind will increase. So I hope this video helps. Let me know whether you found this useful.